Hey guys, Alex Khan here, and I watched the last matches today for the Group F games, and today it was Germany Hungary, which is the only game I watched to be honest, and then there was Portugal France, which I suspect a lot of people were watching as well, since it's two perennial champions or two recent champions. But yeah, I was very loyal to watching Germany play, and if you are a Germany fan, today's match was terrifying. I was very worried about it because initially when Hungary scored, towards the beginning, I'm like, hey, this is plenty of time for Germany to put some points on, just like they did against Portugal. But when it wasn't coming, I got really worried. But before I dive into my talk about the game, let's talk about the matchup. So Hungary, they tied against France. They lost to Portugal, and then Germany they lost to France, and then they destroyed Portugal. So today's match was pretty interesting. So let me look at the formations over here. So Hungary's formation, it looked on paper to be like a 5-3-2. But for the most part, Hungary was defending in force, especially after they scored their first goal. It was so much defensive play. Anywhere near the Hungarian box, there were tons of Hungarians. It was hard for the Germans to create any kind of chances, and it looked like Germany was very flustered. They weren't coming up with any ideas to crack the Hungarian defense, and oh man, it was hard to watch. Germany, they kept with their 3-4-3, 3-5. I don't know. We'll call it a 3-4-3 for now. Not really, but so for this match, it was basically the same lineup as their match against Portugal, except for this match, Mueller had an injury, so Sane came up to start for Mueller. Mueller would come on later on though. So again, Hungary, they defended really well. It was a very compact defense they put up in front of their goal. So Germany they were losing the ball like constantly, like in the air. When they were passing in the Hungarian back line, they could not get past the Hungarian defense. And then, as usual, whenever any team counterattacks against Germany, it's always scary. And that's what happened in this game. Basically, the first chance for a Hungarian counterattack resulted in a goal for Hungary. It was a header. Hold on, I wrote my notes down over here. So the Hungarian goal came from Sile, and this was in the about the 11th minute, and it came off a header, and he was onside. Honestly, it was a beautiful header, but there were two defenders right next to him who didn't even try to stop the ball. It was very bad defending in that case, and that's been the theme with the German defense like over the last few decades. Their defense looks very shaky for the most part. So Hungary scores, and again, that was like in the 11th minute. Still plenty of game left, but once you keep watching and realize that Germany wasn't scoring, that's when you start to get a little worried. So during the halftime, there were no changes from Germany. I think, Jogi Löw basically he pretty much figured that, hey, my team's eventually going to crack this defense, because German possession was dominant throughout the game. They just weren't creating realistic chances against the Hungarian goal, but, he probably thought, they were going to crack eventually. So they kind of did crack in the 65th minute, or 66th minute, I can't pronounce that. From a free kick, there was a header, and this was scored by Havertz. And I would say this was also a Hungarian goalkeeper mistake. He failed to clear it, which meant Havertz was able to just get this ball and just head it right in. And then, boom, Germany was tied. I was so excited, but almost a few seconds later at the restart, Hungary scores again. So it was 2-1 again for Hungary. So Hungary was winning again by a goal. And I'm like, crap, we're back to square one. And that took, 60 minutes for Germany to get back in it. That was demoralizing to see that, to be honest. I can only imagine how hard it must have been for the players out there. So yeah, right after Germany scores, Schaefer scores for Hungary. And honestly, it was a great goal by them. It was fantastic. It was just really sad that Germany let it happen. Again, it was their defense which looked really bad. So around the 70th minute, Jogi Löw finally started making all kinds of substitutions. There was Mueller. He came back. I thought he was injured. Werner came in, and also this really young guy named Musiala came in. And honestly, I think Musiala, once he came in, he was pretty dynamic with the ball. He kept possession really well. He didn't give it up, and I would say that part of his possession led to the German goal, kind of. So yeah, in the 83rd minute, that's when Goretzka scores for Germany, making it a tie game. And this came off a loose ball, and yeah, it was a loose ball, and then Goretzka was able to just nail the ball right into the back of the Hungarian net. But I think it was the substitutions between the 70th and 80th minute that was crucial for Germany. Without those substitutions, it looked like Germany was getting nowhere. But when these, three or four new Germans came in, it made all the difference. Like, it really did, especially with Musiala. Like, he injected a lot of energy into the German attack. And I mean, at least that's what I gathered. And it was comforting seeing Mueller come in, even though he was probably injured, but he probably couldn't sit on the bench and go, "Hey, I'm just gonna sit here and watch my country lose." I don't think he would stand for that. I mean, he did stand for it. He stood up and walked on the field. So I would say in the 93rd minute, Sane, he actually had a really good chance to cross the ball in for a German win, but his cross into the center was pretty bad. A lot of his crosses were pretty bad throughout this game. A lot of his corner kicks were bad, but he did fight really hard. He ran really hard. He fought for every ball. I just feel like his passing was a little off. But yeah, he had to come in and replace Mueller for this game, at least initially. But I definitely knew he tried. I just felt like a lot of his crosses and passes were a little off. But definitely a hard worker. So with the German tie, that means that Germany finishes second in their group, and then France finishes on top, and France, Portugal, and Germany pass on to the next round, to the elimination round. So this means that Germany will take on the winner of the English group, and that would be England. So Germany-England, that's a very classic matchup. And honestly, even though I think Germany played really bad today, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Hungary played their defense so well. They were so organized in their back, and they loaded up that entire section with so many players. It was so hard for Germany to play through. But with the way that England plays, they play a lot more open football. I think Germany's going to be able to play like they did against Portugal. I think Germany's going to be a lot more at home against England than they were against Hungary. Hungary was just frustrating. It was very hard for fans to watch too, I think. I was terrified that this was going to be a repeat of the last World Cup where Germany went out in the first round. Whenever Germany loses like that, I always feel, for some reason, I feel like I somehow jinxed Germany's chances, just by watching them. I don't know. I'm kind of weird like that, but I'm so glad that they made it through. And honestly, I think once they go through, this is going to give them some new life, and they won't have to play against Hungary again. So I think they're going to do well for the rest of the tournament. Spain looked pretty good today, though. Spain beat Slovakia, 5-0? It was some really crazy score. So I think Spain's going to be a thorn should Germany come up against them later on. But I think Germany can take on Portugal again. I'm pretty sure they can outdo France the next time they play. Let's see how they do against England. But I do think this match is going to suit Germany more. Who else is looking pretty good? I mean, hey, Sweden did pretty well today too. But it wasn't against a powerhouse country, mind you. So, anyways, those are my thoughts. I'm so happy that Germany is getting through, so I can keep watching Germany play. I could call into work to watch them. No, I didn't say that. All right, guys. post your thoughts on today's matches. What do you guys think of the elimination round? And what do you think of Germany, England, guys?